executive producer and writer of the hit comedy series Schitt's Creek. I can't believe I said that. Dan also stars in the series alongside Catherine O'Hara, Chris Elliott, and his father, Eugene Levy. Schitt's Creek is in its second season. It airs Tuesday nights on CBC, Canadian Broadcasting Network, and here in the United States on the Pop Network. Okay, who came up with this title?
The title actually came from a dinner that my dad had with Martin Mull. And I'm assuming some wine was drank, and apparently it was just a premise that they started playing with, just, you know, the town of Schitt's Creek and, you know, Schitt's Barbershop.
When you promote this show,
yeah.
do they let you on the Today Show or Good Morning America?
Shockingly, yes. I think we've had to do some pretty creative things in terms of we've had to spell it out. There's had to be a title card that comes up to contextualize where it's from.
But you couldn't say it, right?
I think we could say it on late night. I think Jimmy Fallon did a big sort of funny thing with it on his show. In terms
What is it about?
It's about a family who had lived a very wealthy life. They lost their money in a back tax scandal with a shady business manager. And for my character's 16th birthday, my dad had bought me a town called Schitt's Creek because he thought it was funny. And at the time, why not? And when the government started taking all our assets from us, this town was the only thing they didn't want to take. So we were forced to move there and start our lives again. But ultimately, you know, it's exploring a family who came from a lot of money, where money sort of bandaged a lot of the problems, and it was a very, in the end, what they're learning is that they had a really dismantled relationship with one another.
And are there a lot of people in town named Schitt?
Chris Elliott plays Mayor Roland Schitt, and his wife Jocelyn, and that is sort of the Schitt family, and it's the town was named after them. It comes from a long lineage of Schitts, and you know.
Now, the storyline of the show, I understand you play someone who is pansexual.
Yes.
What is that? I've never heard it, the term.
Pansexuality is an attraction or love to anyone of any sex or gender identity. So it's a very fluid...
LGBT, anyone.
Yes. In doing the show, it's actually been amazing to see the response from the pansexual community of people who are, you know, quite excited to see that represented, you know, on television.
Is that the first time ever it's been represented? I don't think it's.
I can't say I can't say for sure, but I haven't seen it before.
You were quoted as saying, "I don't think he's ever turned down a sexual opportunity if it arose, just like most millennials." That's funny. All right, so give me some of the storylines. What happens on Schitt's Creek?
Well, to that point, my character ends up getting involved with the girl that works behind the front desk of the motel that we now live at, which complicates things. And then, you know, in the second season, we explore men as well. You know, Catherine O'Hara's character came from soap operas. So there's ultimately just a big disconnect between where they've come from and where they're, you know, the reality of their new lives. So, you know, watching Catherine, who is, you know, so incredible in this show, playing this woman who is so deeply disconnected from the way that, like, you know, real people live their lives. It's just, it's been fun to watch. It's been fun to play. And
are they Canadian writers?
All Canadian. It's a completely Canadian production. Are
Canadians hipper? I mean, this show could not be on. I can't picture pitching this.
It was network had some troubles with it. It was, you know, I think Canada, there's a little bit more freedom and leniency to play around. It sort of has that British, you know, Commonwealth sort of. We can get away with some things that aren't, you know, often accepted here on sort of mainstream television. I don't know. We're just up there fighting. So it's, you know, we got some fighter in us.
Where do you shoot?
Shoot in Toronto, in some studios up in Toronto, and then on location all around in the sort of small towns in and around Toronto.
How is it doing?
It's doing great. It's been amazing, because Canadians are an incredibly critical group of people. I say that with love. So to have the show embraced up there in such a great way, and then to, you know, to see it, people watching it down here. You shoot something up in Toronto and you never really think that it's going to do something. Because when you're doing it, when you're shooting it in a small town in Toronto, you think about what's happening in the moment. You think about, getting through your day, and then you package the show and you finish the show. But the idea of then putting it out into the world is something that almost comes as an afterthought. So this is all just a trip for all of us.
Most people are accustomed to rags to riches stories.
Yeah.
This is riches to rags, right?
Yeah.
Probably people dig a lot of that. Let's see a wealthy couple come down.
I think there's a lot of, people have been responding to it quite positively. I think because, and part of the reason where, the seedling of the idea came from just this awareness that we have now of how very wealthy people live. It's out there on reality television, and playing with that sort of cultural awareness, I think, was what really sort of excited
Have you
me.
been acting all your young life?
I started out in doing some theater stuff in school, and then quickly went into hosting television for MTV, and I was a host on MTV for 8 years. And then this was my first thing sort of out of it.
I gather you're enjoying it.
I'm having a blast.
Coming up, I'll ask Dan Levy what's it like to work with his family and alongside comedic veterans like Catherine O'Hara and Chris Elliott, who's also pretty wild. Don't click